hey, we just played a show with them a couple weeks ago, and it's like, wow, like I get to be on stage and, play with these bands.
Jorge from the great punk band out of Los Angeles. Are we claiming Los Angeles?
Yes, that's where we're originally from. The band originally started in LA. So yeah.
Dead77. And you guys are actually put on my radar by Ricardo from the Broken Cuffs.
Oh, nice.
Who's like the nicest dude in punk is Ricardo.
Yeah.
Hat tip to the nicest guy. So for those who don't know, please give us as long as you want. Tell us who Dead77 is and where you guys came from, where you got started. I know that we released a single back in April, was it? Fire.
Yeah, so that's our newest track we released. So the band originally started up back, in 06, but we don't claim that because those were just like fun days of goofing off and
right,
drinking, and it wasn't really like a serious thing. So we just like to say that the band got serious and started up in 2016. And honestly, my original guitar player and I just got together, and it wasn't even supposed to turn into what it's turned to today. It was just, hey, let's put a record out of what we were doing when we were younger to say we did it. And so we recorded an EP, and that EP just kind of took its own life, and we started playing shows, and next thing you know, we're fast forward to heading on our first European tour. So it's just kind of crazy what one event can do,
right,
to kind of shape the future.
I see you guys are going out to the UK to play Rebellion.
Yeah.
Which you'll be playing with the great band The Drowns.
Yeah.
Rev and all them. So, rub his bald head or get another, do something like that when you see Rev. Some of the greatest guys in music are The Drowns.
Yes.
So we got 5 guys in the band. So how do you, most punk bands can't survive with 3 guys in the band. How do you guys maintain 5?
Honestly, from 2016 to now, we've had several lineup changes. So sustainability is not really, it's not there. It's there, but it's not there, right? Like you have to, it's just kind of weird to say, but you have to, if someone's not feeling it, then you have to bring someone else in that is, has the same, views as you do, and you're pursuing that same musical goal. But maintaining 5 guys, everyone's got a different personality, right? And I guess you just kind of have to give and take where you can, and so far right now, I think for the lineup that we have, it's the strongest that we've had since we started back up. There are no original members except for our bass player's been in it the longest. And everybody else from drummers to guitar players have all rotated out, including our guitar player whose idea it was to get back together, So it was, yeah, right now our lineup is strong, and I think it's because we all have the same vision of, if we're going to do this, then let's do it to the best of our abilities, and, let's get out there and tour and do what we can to get our music out there.
So you guys released Fire in April as a single. What else do we have coming out for the rest of 2023?
As of right now, our main focus is just wrapping up the year with these shows. We do have a 2.5-week tour in Europe. Next week, we take off. As soon as we get back, we're going to the East Coast. And then I think we have a break between October and November. So maybe we'll start writing some stuff around that time. We already have a couple songs in the works. It's just having the time to get into the studio. I think that's where, some of the planning and logistics of touring and recording, kind of take place. You have to learn how to balance both. and it feels like we really haven't had that opportunity because something's always coming up. But I really want to get back into the studio. And it's kind of weird because our record that we released in January of last year, our full length, is like now taking off the way we wish it would have taken off back then. But I'm still grateful that it's completely taken off now. And if I was to say, if they're listening to that album Demons, the new EP or album, whichever it might be, is going to have that same musical vibe to it.
Now, on a songwriting standpoint, what are you guys trying to get across with an album like Demons, or Fire? Like, what do you guys want to be known for, like with the music that you do lyrically?
It's just relating on the level of what people go through in everyday life, right? Like Demons was a record that we wrote during the pandemic, and so a lot of it was mental health. A lot of it was just dealing with your inner demons, or just your pretty much mental health. Also like a little bit of being on the road again, things like that. Love, which isn't too punk rock to say, but yeah, you have like some love songs, you have heartbreak, you have mental health, and you have just songs about wanting to be back on the road.
Right.
And so yeah, our message is pretty much your everyday, just, and I guess relating to, we try to make our music relatable to everyone, not a specific group, not a specific crowd, but just to everyone. Just a sense of belonging for anyone, whether you're punk rock, hardcore, whatever, you can still kind of relate to our music.
Now, growing up and being in the LA punk scene, which is a different scene than anywhere else in the world when it comes to the punk scene, has there been moments where either you went to a show or you guys have played a show and you've kind of just ran into people, you got the call that, hey, you guys are going to be opening up for this band, and it completely just, like, it was a pinch yourself kind of moment? Because
yeah.
who was that? Who are those guys?
Specifically in LA or just in general?
Yeah, well, let's start with LA, and then we can venture out into the rest of the world.
I guess in LA, I mean, for us, one of our first shows coming back was with the Lower Class Brats. And obviously, as being a teenager, like that to me was a big deal. Because that was, I mean, I used to go watch them, and now I'm sharing a stage with them,
Right.
and that's still surreal to this day. We just played a show with them a couple weeks ago, and it's like, wow, like I get to be on stage and, play with these bands. And I think that's like the biggest thing is like, I can't just say like, oh, there's just one band that I was like, oh my God, because there's like so many that I've been given the opportunity to like share the stage with and, get, have feedback from. I can tell you, I'm looking forward to a few bands that I'm sharing the stage with here in the next couple of weeks. And that's like Murphy's Law. Like, that's crazy. Like, I would never, I mean, it's one thing to share the stage with them in the States, and then we haven't done that yet, but we get to play 2 shows with them pretty much back to back in Europe.
Right.
So that's amazing. Cox Bar is another one that it's just I'm like left without words that we get to, experience sharing the stage with these bands that, pretty much are the stepping stones to what's evolved to now. So yeah, it's exciting, but yeah, being from LA and being able to experience, what we get to do is just amazing, and I'm completely grateful for it, for sure.
What got you into punk?
I guess my upbringing, man. Honestly, I grew up in North Hollywood as a kid, and later on in my early 20s, I lived in Silver Lake. But growing up in the area that I grew up, it was, you kind of had two choices. You were either, going to be a gangbanger or you were a skateboarder. And, I kind of leaned towards skateboarding. And within that group, no matter what, within skateboarding itself, or I feel like any sport, like, BMXing, blading, whatever, you're going to experience so many different types of music
Right.
that's what pulled me into punk rock, was hanging out with so many different people that skateboard and experiencing different cultures and music. And that was like my calling. Once I started skateboarding with the specific group of people, they started introducing me to bands. And I think one of my first like listens was a compilation by Nitro Records, and it had, I think, like AFI, um, Guttermouth. It was a bunch of it's crazy that I can even remember that, but yeah, it was a Nitro compilation CD that someone gave me, and they're like, "Oh, dude, check this out." And that, from that day forth, it's just like I discovered more and more and more.
Right. Who are you getting into these days? Who are you, either who's put out a new album, or who have you discovered, or you know?
I think I haven't really, I kind of go back and forth on my playlist. The bands that I really like right now is Comeback Kid is a big one. I like that hardcore style that they play. Um, if I had to go old school, a big one's the Cro-Mags. Um, what else? I like a lot of the early 2000s punk rock, street punk,
Right.
The Virus, Cheap Sex, Clip 45, Global Threat, Youth Brigade. So I mean, I'm always going back to old albums. Bad Religion, that's one that I always like to revisit. I think their music's great, and I think they kind of laid out a foundation for kind of like not our music, but in the sense of like that lead guitar
Right.
sound and bending. They've kind of, I think they kind of help. We kind of took some of that inspiration and used it in our music too. Um, so yeah.
So, just quickly we talked about this before off air, but I just want to basically thank you for your service. I know that are you retired, or are you still active in the military?
No, I'm done.
You're done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your service. You
Thank
did
you.
the opposite of what usually happens in punk, which is the band usually breaks up because somebody goes into the military, and
Right.
you survived it. So thank you for your service. And that's all I want to. I don't, that's all we're going to talk about there with that. But I do, creeping on your Instagram, because we've been trying to have an interview happen for a few months now,
Right.
and creeping on your Instagram, you are married.
Yes.
2 years. We just did 2 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. Your wife looks like a normie. So for all those punkers out there who wonder how they get a normie girl, share with us. This is like a TED talk now on how a punk rocker can get a normie.
So my wife, that's so funny because she's actually, I say she's more punk rock than I am.
She's the one throwing the elbows in the pit, huh?
Yeah, she's definitely committed to her music. She's more into like she's definitely a punk rocker. When I met her, I think what kind of gets people is that she's a math teacher. So she looks normal on the weekdays, when
Right.
she's in class, but no, she's definitely a punk rocker. I actually met her on my first tour that we did in Texas, and I mean, it was just a conversation, and it revolved around school resumes and music, and it just like, we matched, and she moved. Somehow I convinced her to move out to California from Austin. So.
Wait, Jorge, wait, hold up. So you met your wife on tour in Texas
Yep.
at a punk rock show that you were playing,
Yep.
and then you got her to move from Texas to Los Angeles to marry
Me.
a punk rock musician.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yep.
you need a book. All right. Because so I was dating this wonderful woman a few months back, and punk rock bowling was happening, and
Right.
I'm in the scene. And you could tell that there was a little bit of insecurity with the women. And I'm like, no, you have to, like, those type of women will burn your life to the ground. Those crust punk women, they'll burn your life to the ground. I'll say it. You don't have to. I'm like, you got nothing to worry about. And so, like, when I saw you, I'm like, congratulations. You got a normie punk rock girl, like someone
Yeah.
who's not going to burn your life to the ground. You need a
No,
book, and you
yeah,
got her to
she's
move out of
great.
state. You need a book. You
Yeah,
need to
and
write a
she's
book.
great. She's super supportive. She's coming on the tour. She's running merch for us. And she does a great job. I mean, she doesn't interfere with the band business. She's just like, hey, I'm here to help. And wait, if you guys need it or you don't, just let me know. So she's very, very supportive. But yeah, she's definitely a punk rocker. And she used to have blue hair. When I met her, she had blue hair. Um, but again, she went into the teaching field, so she kind of toned it down.
I might need to interview your wife on, what you women who want to marry a musician, a professional musician who tours, what's life like for that? Now, are the other guys in the band married?
Well, I think one of them is.
Okay.
David is married. He's been married for a while. I think Gio, our drummer, is currently engaged. Carlos, has a girlfriend, and then Melvin is single.
All right. We're going to get Melvin married off. All right. We're going to do it. We'll bring Melvin on and we'll do a dating show and it'll be great.
Yeah,
I asked if you guys were married because you do see with a lot of bands now, obviously, when you get to like A-list status or whatever, it doesn't really matter if you're married because there's money coming in, there's all that. How has the struggle been for you guys or for you personally with balancing being married, doing shows, touring, all of that, going in the studio? How is that? How do you balance all that? You weren't
honestly, I
expecting
don't
you
know.
weren't expecting
Sometimes.
that question, were you?
No, that one, I mean, it is honestly, it gets pretty stressful sometimes. Because not only am I obviously I'm balancing my wife, and then I have two kids, and then I got the band, and then I have my full-time job. So there's a lot of balancing that needs to happen, and it is hard, but I think once you find, your mojo, it just kind of all lines up. Although, I mean, sometimes I just feel like, man, like how am I even accomplishing what I'm doing? Because there's so much going on that I don't even know how I keep my head on my shoulders sometimes.
Well, I'll say for me personally, what I've done with talking with artists, and if you don't have that support system
Yeah,
from it's almost like I say, like, if you're going to be in a band, what I've always told artists is if you're going to be in a band or start a new business or whatever, your spouse has to be your number one fan because
yeah,
she's signing up, or or they're signing up for a sacrifice. They're
yeah.
set, they're gonna, okay, he's not home tonight. He's got to go to the studio or he's on tour or whatever. So congratulations to you, and I know you're a dad as well. So I know that that's been some of our conflict with trying to
Yeah.
schedules because we both have kids and stuff like that.
Right.
So congratulations. And what type of music are your kids into these days? Are they into the punk? Cause mine are not.
No, my daughter is, and it's kind of funny because she's just like, I'm your number one fan, Dad. I'm like, that's cool. So my daughter's into it. She kind of ventures in and out of it. She listens to everything. My son, he kind of does. He's a very like instant gratification kind of kid. So he'll like come to a show, watch us play, and then be like, well, I'm done. You're done. So I think it's time for me to go home, Dad. I'm
Right.
like, well, so he's kind of like, he kind of just goes with the flow of things. But my daughter's definitely into music. What she's listening to, I have no idea. I think it goes between like some punk rock to like some Billie Eilish to
Right.
who knows what else, but she's all over the map.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my daughter, the most punk she gets into is the Interrupters.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's a stretch for her,
Yeah.
because it's not Taylor Swift or
Yeah.
Kids Pop.
Right.
So how can people get in contact with you guys? Give us the links, which obviously we'll put the links in the description for you guys. But if they want to reach out, who's running the Instagram account? If they want to tell you, how great your band is, which they will.
Yeah.
No hecklers, no hecklers.
No hecklers. Yeah. Instagram, on Instagram, it's instagram.com/dead77 official. I currently run the page. So any messages that come through, I will see them and I try to respond.
He's very quick at responding too. So just keep your phone unlocked when you send a message.
Yeah, because usually I'll respond pretty quick. I guess that was like one of the things too, like growing up, like you wish your, people that you looked up to would respond to you. So I kind of try to uphold that, like if someone says like, oh, you guys are great, then I always try to respond back with something, just to make them feel welcomed and that, we do appreciate the support. We just had someone comment, I think, on one of our posts, oh, this is my yearly, because we're playing Rebellion and he's going to the festival and he's like, oh, this is my yearly dose of Dead77. I'm so excited. And, that makes me happy. So I'm like, dude,
Right.
like, we're excited, thank you for supporting us. Like that means the world to us. So yeah, if you comment, write us, I'll try to respond to you. Facebook.com/dead77. That's going to be me as well. And I think Melvin has access to, so it'll be one of us two on there as well.
Now, where did the name Dead77 come from?
It's funny because I get asked that question all the time. Dead77, I guess it's kind of like a metaphor of like we brought the name as a metaphor of we're like a new breed of punk rock. Like we're bringing a new sound and kind of, saying like the old times are kind of over and we're like the new introduction to punk rock.
That's actually very deep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty deep right there. I'll tell you guys, for those who are listening or watching, and they look a lot more crusty than they actually are.
Yeah.
When Ricardo told me to check you guys out, I was like, oh, I was thinking this is going to be like just like brutal, and I was really excited for it. And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like right on. I mean, I told you, I think of you guys more as street punk. You think of yourself more as punk, which you're the creator, so you get to be punk. Then you're not street punk. But I was expecting like leftover crack, like just something like so like in the gutter.
Right.
Hopefully not, anything like them. But then I listened to it and I was like, oh, okay, like you guys are a lot rougher. Like you're more like, I'll say you're a lot crustier in your pictures than you actually are as a band, which I appreciate because you got to keep people on their toes.
Yeah.
You have a GBH pin on your jacket right there.
Yes.
What does that band how has that band impacted you?
I mean, God, we used to cover Give Me Fire back when we were younger. So it's always had an influence. And I think also just their power behind their music. That's a big, like, just that energy. Even when you hear like City Baby, like that energy, just the intro to that song, it just builds you up. I don't know. They've always been a great band, and they've always like, if I'm going out to party, if I'm going to the bar, I'll put on GB, I'll put on City Rat in the car. And I'm like, dude, like I feel like fucking partying right now, like, so it just like kind of that band just it gets you going,
right?
And that's, I love their music. It's amazing.
So when you guys get some new music out, probably next year, what it's looking like, love to have you back on, and maybe we can get the band members married off and have the wife, and I mean, we could just do like an all-day thing. We could just rotate them in and out, you stay the main character, but we'll just rotate everybody in and out. the whole
Yeah.
time. And if you come to Nashville, I'd love to meet you guys. I took the kids a couple of weeks back to the Voodoo Glow Skull Less Than Jake show.
Oh, nice.
And they were freaked out, you know, by the Voodoo Glow Skulls. So it wasn't Katy Perry, so we weren't happy with it. But you know, anytime you guys need anything, we got something to promote, you want to talk about, please come back. Jorge from Dead77, thank you.
Thank you.
All the links to their music, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, all that will be in the description. And until next time, and if you go see them, tell him you heard it, you know, you listened to this interview. So he doesn't think he wasted his time.